What's going on, everyone? My name is Johnny Bannon, and I will be your CCNA instructor for this CCNA video series. And in this video, we're following up on our SYSLOG lesson, and we're going to do some SYSLOG configuration. So you see it, our topology here in EVNG, man, is it simple. We just have a router, and then that router is bridged out to my local network, where on my computer, I'm running the Kiwi SYSLOG server. So we're really just going to do some simple configuration here. Configure an IP address, make sure it can ping the SYSLOG server, and then we're going to set our SYSLOG messages up. So we're going to do levels 7 through 0. We're going to set up the logging host, and then we're going to generate some SYSLOG messages on our CLI, and we're going to see them come across on our Kiwi log service. So like all of our labs, I want to thank our paid viewers for watching and going through our bootcamp. If you're interested in that, please click the description below. It's awesome. It's got labs for free, already pre-made. It's got our own custom practice exam software and access to our Discord where we have IT professionals and recruiters. All right, enough of that. Let's get back to SYSLOG. So the first thing we're going to do here is again go over our instructions. And I do have them in here, the topology, but I also have them on our GitLab, which is posted in the description below. And if you go to section 6, SYSLOG lab, this is going to have a network diagram and also our instructions here. I'm going to bring that off to the monitor that you can't see on the screen, and we're going to jump right into it. So step 1 is turn on all devices. Step 2, paste baseline from GitLab. Again, for our paid viewers, the baseline should already be in there. And I think for this lab, I don't even know if I did because it's just so simple, right? We just have one purpose for this lab: get SYSLOG up and make sure it's logging to our SYSLOG server. So let's go ahead and now console in and just verify some IP addressing. Okay, so I'm on this router here. So let's verify that we have something configured where we can reach out. Okay, let's go ahead and ping our default gateway. And this is all going to be depending on your setup in EVNG. My VM is running on my ESXi server, and that's part of the 192.168.1.0/24 network. So that all just depends. And you can see some SYSLOG messages already coming up saying there's a duplex mismatch. So kind of annoying, but we're just going to work through that. Awesome. So we can ping. So my SYSLOG server sits at 192.168.30.214. This is my computer's IP address. Sits on a different VLAN and subnet on my home network. But we can reach it. Awesome. So now what I'm going to do is bring up the SYSLOG server for you guys. I just want to show you what I'm using. So you can see here I was just doing some testing prior. So this is a simple free SYSLOG service. All I did for all these IP services labs is look up free SYSLOG server. And it's one of the first ones that comes up. It's highly recommended on all the lists I looked at. And I just downloaded it. It's simple as all that. And when you download it, it gives you a little how-to and troubleshooting guide that I had to use a little bit. And that was it. Essentially, what the setup is here is just the SYSLOG server application sitting on my local desktop. Then if I come here to File and Set Up, just give this a second to come up. Here we go. What I did here is come down here to inputs and just put the router's IP address that I need to send to, right? Or the CLI, the iOS device we're using to send SYSLOG messages out of. So that's all I did here. I didn't change anything else. We're just using the standard UDP port. I had to turn my firewall off on my computer because it wasn't letting the messages through. And that's it. That's all I did. You see the display 07. I guess that's another thing I did up here. If we go to, let's go back here, setup, default. I made my display number 7 just because I was messing around with it. And that's what I configured, right? Display number 7. But if you come down here, you can pick any display. And it really just depends on how you want to configure yours, okay? So now let's go ahead and do our SYSLOG configuration. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just set up the logging host command. So this command is going to say, hey, this is where the syslog server sits. This is where we want to send our syslog messages to. Awesome. And then we're also going to do the service timestamps. So when I was doing this earlier, type in service timestamps, log, and then date time. All right, I had a little bit of issues earlier, and I thought maybe it was just an evng thing, but it actually wasn't showing the timestamps, even though I did this exact command and it took it. Sometimes it just happens with evng. We get these little evng-isms, I like to call them, that just kind of mess things up. Okay, and now we're gonna set the trap message, which essentially is saying, I want you to send these severity levels and below. So that's going to be logging trap 7. So that's pretty much saying all syslog levels I want to get sent to that syslog server. And now we're going to go into interface loopback 0. And I'm going to no shut it, then shut it, and then no shut it again to make sure we get a good, good traffic generation. And we should see some messages coming across on our CLI. And here we say logging host start stop. Let me get my face out of the way here. Logging to host 192.168.30.214. So that's pretty cool, right? We see that that's happening now. Let's go ahead and run this again, because it looks like there might have been some delay in starting that syslog server message process. All right. And here we go. We can see that we're getting some generation here. So our timestamps did work, and you can see here that they are coming across. So we can see loop back, up, down. Let's go back to like our default display. See, it's not coming up with our default display because, oh, sorry. I was like looking at the wrong ones. It comes up to the top, right? So you see even that CDP duplex mismatch coming across here. And now we do have our timestamps. And hey guys, that's it. We are good to go now. The only other commands we went over in our lab, or in our lesson, was just choosing the source interface. But I mean, I'll show you that command, but there's really nothing to it. We're just saying logging source interface loopback 0, and that's not going to allow us to connect because that loopback 0 sits on a different subnet, and I have to enable NAT. But all that means is the source IP address is now going to be the loopback 0 IP address. Let me do something real quick so this stops cutting us off. Logging synchronous. Okay, so logging, source interface. Let's change it back to gig 00. And now let's just do a quick Wireshark capture before we end this video. Because, I mean, really anticlimactic, right? It's really really easy syslog. So hopefully we start seeing syslog messages come across there again. Let's go ahead and do a capture on gig 00. Once our capture is kind of set up and chugging along, let's go back into interface loopback 0 and let's shut it down and then no shuts. And let's see if we can see those syslog messages come across on our Wireshark capture. Looks like it's not coming up. Maybe it just takes it a little bit. Okay, here we go. And now we see that syslog message sending across that CDP duplex mismatch. So even in this Wireshark capture, we can kind of see that it created this ephemeral source port, but that destination port is in use, and it is using the user datagram protocol, UDP. All right, so that's going to be it for this syslog lab. I mean, just real easy, guys. Really nothing to syslog. It's a few commands, and then we're up and we're running. So I want to thank you all for viewing, and stay tuned for our next lesson. Thank you.